My last mission was erased from military records. Now they're hunting me. The cold seeped in, a familiar, unwelcome guest in my bones. It wasn't the bone-chilling damp of the Pacific Northwest, where I was currently holed up in a dilapidated cabin that smelled perpetually of mildew and desperation. No, this cold was different. This cold was the residue of something inhuman, something I'd brushed against during that godforsaken mission, the one that never officially happened. Echoes, they called them in the briefings. Remnants of realities best left undisturbed. Easier said than done when you're the one pulling the trigger. The rain hammered against the corrugated iron roof, a relentless percussion that mirrored the frantic rhythm of my heart. 3 weeks. 3 weeks since I'd fled from Camp Serenity, leaving behind everything I'd ever known, everything I'd ever been. 3 weeks since I'd become a ghost, a non-entity, a footnote scrubbed from the annals of clandestine operations. My reflection stared back at me from the cracked, grime-covered window, a gaunt, haunted stranger with eyes that had seen too much and a soul teetering on the precipice of oblivion. I ran a hand over my close-cropped hair, the phantom weight of my helmet still pressing against my skull. The helmet that filtered out the dissonant frequencies, the ones that whispered promises of power and oblivion in equal measure. The helmet that didn't work. They're coming. I know it. I can feel their presence, a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a prickling on the back of my neck, the kind of instinctive dread that only comes from being hunted by something that transcends human understanding. They want to silence me, to erase me completely, to ensure that what happened in that forsaken village remains a secret buried so deep that even God himself would struggle to unearth it. It started with the briefing. Standard op, infiltrate, neutralize, extract. Small village nestled deep within the Afghan mountains, suspected of harboring a high-value target with ties to, well, let's just say people who didn't like America. The target, a reclusive imam, rumored to possess knowledge of ancient, esoteric practices, the kind of whispers that attract the attention of both intelligence agencies and occult circles. The team, 5 of us, the best of the best. Ramirez, our point man, unflappable and precise. Jackson, the demolitions expert, always eager to make things go boom. Shin, our tech whiz, could hack into anything with a pulse. Davies, the medic, a gentle giant with a surprisingly dark sense of humor. And me, Reyes, the team leader, the one responsible for bringing them all back alive. We dropped in under the cover of darkness, the familiar hum of the Black Hawk fading into the distance as we navigated the treacherous terrain. The village was eerily quiet, the only sound the wind whistling through the narrow, dusty streets. No barking dogs, no flickering lights, no sign of life. Just an unsettling stillness that set my teeth on edge. We moved cautiously, Ramirez leading the way, his rifle held at the ready. The imam's compound was located at the center of the village, a walled enclosure surrounded by crumbling mud houses. As we approached, the air grew heavy, thick with an almost palpable sense of dread. It felt like the very stones were whispering warnings, urging us to turn back. We breached the gate, the hinges groaning in protest, and stepped into a courtyard bathed in the ghostly glow of the moon. And that's when things started to unravel. The imam was waiting for us, standing in the center of the courtyard, his face obscured by the shadows of his hood. He was surrounded by a group of villagers, their eyes vacant, their faces devoid of expression. They looked like puppets, their strings pulled by some unseen force. The imam raised his hand, and a guttural chant filled the air, a discordant melody that seemed to vibrate in my very bones. The villagers began to sway, their movements becoming more erratic, more violent. Ramirez opened fire, the sharp crack of his rifle shattering the stillness. But the bullets seemed to pass right through the villagers, leaving them unharmed. They continued to chant, their voices rising in a crescendo of madness. Then the ground began to shake. A fissure opened in the courtyard, a gaping maw that seemed to lead directly into the abyss. A dark, oily substance bubbled up from the depths, filling the air with a stench that made my stomach churn. The villagers lunged at us, their eyes burning with an unholy light. We fought back, firing our weapons, using our knives, but it was like fighting shadows. They were too many, too strong, too unnatural. Jackson tried to blow the gate, but the explosives did nothing. The walls remained standing, trapping us inside. Davies was the first to go down, his throat ripped out by one of the villagers. Ramirez followed soon after, his body riddled with wounds. Chen tried to use his tech to disable whatever was controlling the villagers, but he was overwhelmed, his screams echoing in the night. I fought on, fueled by adrenaline and desperation, but I knew it was a losing battle. I saw Jackson get pulled into the fissure, his screams cut short as he disappeared into the darkness. I was the only one left. The Imam approached me, his eyes burning with an infernal glee. He reached out his hand, and I felt a surge of power, a dark, intoxicating energy that threatened to consume me. I closed my eyes, bracing for the end. But then something broke. The chanting stopped. The ground ceased to shake. The villagers collapsed, their bodies lifeless. The Imam staggered back, his eyes wide with terror. The power vanished, leaving me weak and trembling. I opened my eyes and saw nothing. The courtyard was empty, the fissure gone, the bodies disappeared. The only sign that anything had happened was the lingering stench of sulfur and the deafening silence. I stumbled out of the compound, my mind reeling, my body broken. I radioed for extraction, but there was no response. I walked for days, lost and alone, until I finally reached a friendly outpost. I told them what had happened, but they didn't believe me. They said there was no record of the mission, no record of my team, no record of the village. They said I was suffering from combat fatigue, that I was hallucinating. They sent me to Camp Serenity, a military psychiatric facility where they tried to convince me that it was all in my head. But I knew it wasn't. I knew what I had seen. I knew what I had felt. And I knew that they were lying. So I escaped. I left Camp Serenity in the dead of night, stealing a car and driving as far away as I could. I changed my name, I cut off all contact with my family, I became a ghost. I knew they would come after me, that they wouldn't rest until I was silenced. But I also knew that I couldn't let them win. I had to find out what happened in that village, what the Imam was trying to summon, and why they were so desperate to cover it up. I had to honor the memory of my team to ensure that their sacrifice wasn't in vain. The rain intensifies, rattling the windows and making the cabin creak and groan. I grabbed my rifle, a battered M4 I managed to salvage before going AWOL. It's an old friend, a familiar weight in my hands. I check the magazine, ensuring it's full. I know they'll be well prepared. They always are. I move to the window, peering into the darkness. The trees surrounding the cabin sway wildly in the wind, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. I see nothing, but I feel them. Lurking just beyond the tree line, their presence a palpable weight in the air. I need to move. This cabin is a death trap. It offers no real protection, no escape route. But where do I go? I've exhausted all my resources, burned all my bridges. I'm running on fumes, both physically and mentally. But I can't give up. Not yet. I owe it to my team. I owe it to myself. I gather my meager belongings, a backpack containing some food, a first aid kit, a map, and a compass. I sling the backpack over my shoulder and grab my rifle. I take a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. This is it, the moment of truth. I open the door and step out into the storm. The wind howls in my ears, tearing at my clothes. The rain lashes against my face, blinding me. I move quickly, darting from tree to tree, using the darkness and the storm as cover. I need to reach the mountains. They offer the only real chance of escape. But the mountains are miles away, and I know they're already closing in. I hear a twig snap behind me. I whirl around, my rifle raised. I see nothing, just the swirling rain and the swaying trees. But I know they're there, watching me, waiting for me to make a mistake. I continue to move, my senses on high alert. I hear the rustling of leaves, the snap of branches, the faint whisper of voices. They're trying to disorient me, to confuse me, to drive me mad. But I won't let them. I've been through worse. I press on, my legs burning, my lungs aching, my mind focused on one goal, survival. I reach a small stream and wade across, the icy water numbing my feet. I know they'll be tracking me, but the stream will help to mask my scent. I emerge on the other side, shivering and soaked to the bone. I continue towards the mountains, the terrain becoming steeper and more treacherous. The trees thin out, leaving me exposed to the full force of the storm. I see a flash of lightning illuminating the surrounding landscape. And then I see them. Standing on a ridge overlooking the valley, their figures silhouetted against the stormy sky. They're wearing black uniforms, their faces obscured by masks. They're armed with advanced weaponry, their movements precise and deadly. They're not soldiers. Not exactly. They're something else. Something more. They raise their weapons and open fire. Bullets rip through the air, tearing through the trees around me. I drop to the ground, crawling behind a fallen log. The bullets continue to rain down, chipping away at the log, sending splinters flying. I need to get out of here. This log won't offer enough protection. I crawl forward, inching my way towards a cluster of rocks. I reach the rocks and scramble behind them, taking cover. The bullets continue to strike the rocks, sending shards of stone into the air. I take a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. I need a plan. I can't stay here. I'll be trapped. I look around, assessing my surroundings. There's a narrow ravine to my left, leading up towards the mountains. It's a risky move, but it's my only chance. I wait for a lull in the gunfire and then make a dash for the ravine. I sprint across the open ground, bullets whizzing past my head. I reach the ravine and dive inside, scrambling up the steep slope. The bullets continue to follow me, ricocheting off the rocks around me. I reach the top of the ravine and collapse, gasping for breath. I look back and see them. They're climbing down the ridge, their movements relentless. They're not going to give up. Not until I'm dead. I get to my feet and continue towards the mountains, my body screaming in protest. I reach the base of the mountains and begin to climb, my hands and feet scrambling for purchase on the slippery rocks. The storm intensifies, the wind howling, the rain lashing. The climb is treacherous, the rocks loose and unstable. I slip and fall, scraping my knees and elbows. I get back to my feet and continue to climb, my determination fueled by adrenaline and fear. I hear them behind me, their voices echoing in the wind. They're getting closer. I reach a narrow ledge and stop to catch my breath. I look back and see them. They're almost upon me. I have to make a decision. I can either keep climbing, risking a fall and certain death, or I can stand and fight. I choose to fight. I raise my rifle and take aim. I fire, the shot echoing through the mountains. One of them falls, his body tumbling down the slope. The others stop, their movements hesitant. They weren't expecting me to fight back. I fire again, hitting another one. He screams and clutches his arm. The others raise their weapons and return fire. I duck behind a rock, bullets whizzing past my head. I need to reload. I fumble with the magazine, my fingers numb with cold. I manage to reload and take aim again. I fire, hitting another one. He falls, his body disappearing into the darkness. There are only two left. They advance cautiously, their weapons trained on me. I know I can't kill them both. They're too well trained, too well equipped. But I can buy myself some time. I can distract them, give myself a chance to escape. I throw a rock, hitting one of them in the face. He staggers back, momentarily disoriented. I take the opportunity to run. I sprint along the ledge, my feet pounding against the rock. I reach a narrow crevice and squeeze inside, disappearing into the darkness. I crawl through the crevice, the rock scraping against my skin. The crevice leads to a small cave. I crawl inside and collapse, gasping for breath. I'm safe. For now. But I know they'll find me. They always do. I need to find a way out of these mountains. I need to find a way to expose them, to reveal the truth about what happened in that village. But how? I'm just one man, hunted and alone. They have all the power, all the resources. But I have something they don't. I have knowledge. I know their secrets. And that makes me dangerous. I spend the night in the cave, shivering and exhausted. I sleep fitfully, plagued by nightmares of the village, of the imam, of my dead teammates. I wake up at dawn, the storm having passed. The sun shines through the opening of the cave, illuminating the interior. I get to my feet, my body stiff and sore. I eat some of the food I have left, trying to replenish my strength. I leave the cave and continue towards the summit of the mountain. The climb is arduous, the air thin and cold. I reach the summit and look out over the surrounding landscape. The view is breathtaking. Snow-capped peaks stretch as far as the eye can see. But I don't have time to admire the scenery. I need to find a way down. I spot a narrow path leading down the other side of the mountain. It looks treacherous, but it's my only option. I start down the path, my movements cautious. The path is steep and slippery, the rocks loose and unstable. I slip and fall several times, but I manage to keep my balance. I continue down the path, my eyes scanning the surroundings. I need to be alert. They could be anywhere. I reach a small clearing and stop to catch my breath. I hear a noise behind me. I whirl around, my rifle raised. It's a deer. It stares at me for a moment and then bounds away. I lower my rifle and sigh. I'm on edge. I need to calm down. I take a deep breath and continue down the path. I reach a fork in the path and stop, unsure which way to go. I consult my map and compass, trying to determine my location. According to the map, the path to the left leads to a small town. The path to the right leads to a logging road. I decide to take the path to the left. I'm hoping I can find someone in the town who can help me. I continue down the path, my pace quickening. I'm eager to reach civilization. I reach the outskirts of the town and stop, concealed behind a cluster of trees. I observe the town, trying to assess the situation. It looks peaceful enough. People are walking the streets, children are playing in the park, cars are driving by. But I can't be too careful. They could have agents here, waiting for me. I decide to approach the town cautiously. I enter the town and walk down the main street, trying to blend in with the crowd. I pass a diner and decide to go inside. I need some food and a place to rest. I enter the diner and sit down at a booth. A waitress approaches me and takes my order. I order a burger and fries and a cup of coffee. While I'm waiting for my food, I look around the diner. It's a typical small-town diner with red vinyl booths, checkered floors, and a jukebox in the corner. There are a few other customers in the diner, mostly locals. I don't see anyone who looks suspicious. My food arrives and I start to eat, savoring the taste. It's the first real meal I've had in days. While I'm eating, I overhear a conversation between two men at the next booth. They're talking about a strange incident that happened in the nearby mountains. They say that some hikers disappeared without a trace. They also say that there have been reports of strange lights in the sky. I prick up my ears, listening intently. Could this be related to what happened in that village? Could they be conducting experiments in the mountains? I finish my meal and pay the waitress. I leave the diner and walk back out onto the street. I need to investigate these disappearances. I need to find out what's happening in the mountains. I walk to the local library and go inside. I ask the librarian if she has any information about the missing hikers. She tells me that the case is still under investigation, but there are no leads. She also tells me that the authorities are discouraging people from hiking in the mountains. I thank her for her help and leave the library. I need to find a way to get back into the mountains without attracting attention. I walk to a local sporting goods store and go inside. I buy some hiking gear, including a tent, a sleeping bag, and a backpack. I pay for the gear and leave the store. I find a secluded spot in the woods outside of town and set up my camp. I spend the night in the woods planning my next move. I decide to try to find the location where the hikers disappeared. I'm hoping I can find some clues that will lead me to the truth. The next morning, I pack up my camp and head back into the mountains. I follow the trails, searching for any sign of the missing hikers. I find some footprints, but they're too old to be of any use. I continue to search, my determination unwavering. After several hours of hiking, I come across a clearing. In the center of the clearing, I see something that makes my blood run cold. It's a symbol etched into the ground. It's the same symbol that I saw in the village, the symbol that the imam was using to summon something. I step back, my heart pounding in my chest. I'm not alone. They're here. I hear a noise behind me. I whirl around, my rifle raised. Standing behind me are two men in black uniforms, their faces obscured by masks. They're armed with advanced weaponry. They're the same men who were hunting me in the mountains. "It's over, Reyes," one of them says. "There's nowhere left to run." I raise my rifle and take aim. "I'm not going down without a fight," I say. The men open fire. Bullets rip through the air, tearing through the trees around me. I drop to the ground, crawling behind a fallen log. The bullets continue to rain down, chipping away at the log, sending splinters flying. This is it, the end of the line. I close my eyes, bracing for the inevitable. But then something unexpected happens. The ground begins to shake. A fissure opens in the clearing, a gaping maw that seems to lead directly into the abyss. A dark, oily substance bubbles up from the depths, filling the air with a stench that makes my stomach churn. The two men in black uniforms scream and stumble back, their faces filled with terror. They've seen this before. They know what's coming. A figure emerges from the fissure. It's tall and gaunt with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp claws. It's something not of this world. It's the creature that the Imam was trying to summon in the village. The creature turns its gaze upon the two men and lets out a deafening roar. The men scream again and try to run, but it's too late. The creature leaps forward, tearing them apart with its claws. Their screams are cut short, leaving only silence. The creature turns its gaze upon me. I stare back, frozen in fear. It approaches me slowly, its eyes burning into my soul. I know I'm going to die. But then something strange happens. The creature stops in front of me and tilts its head as if studying me. It lets out a soft hiss as if recognizing me. It reaches out its clawed hand and touches my forehead. I feel a surge of power, a dark, intoxicating energy that threatens to consume me. But this time, it's different. This time, I'm not afraid. This time, I embrace the darkness. The creature withdraws its hand and steps back. It lets out another hiss and then turns and disappears back into the fissure. The fissure closes, leaving the clearing silent once more. I stand there, trembling, trying to comprehend what just happened. The creature spared me. Why? What does it want from me? I feel different. Stronger. More powerful. I look down at my hands, examining them closely. They look the same, but I know they're not. I'm changed. I'm connected to something dark and powerful. And I know that I can use this power to expose them, to reveal the truth about what happened in that village. I know what I have to do. I have to find out who is behind all of this. Who ordered the mission to the village? Who is trying to cover it up? I have to find them and make them pay. I leave the clearing and head back towards town. I have a mission to complete. And this time, I'm not going to fail. The rain starts again, washing away the blood and the stench of sulfur. I walk on, a ghost in the storm, a hunter with nothing to lose. They erased my mission from the records. They tried to erase me, but they failed. Because now I am something more than a soldier. I am something more than human. I am vengeance.